and it goes to the development bank, and then one person in the development bank is handling that money to be distributed. The money is going down in some dark holes. That is finding out the truth, because that is a critical program. And so in order to know the truth, you have to find out what exactly is taking place. So we're not interested in witch hunts. We're interested in knowing the truth.
Right. The legislative agenda, there has been a lot of talk from the previous government and even on the campaign trail about freedom of information and integrity in public life. How soon can we see some movement in that direction? I know freedom of information would have passed, but again, not actualized. Same for integrity in public life.
Right. So very critically, we're in the process of appointing our AG. And so in our discussions and my interviews, those were things that were mentioned also in the interviews. And I say, as I go, I'm still interviewing persons where I intend to continue to bring that matter up. Had an extensive discussion with one of the interviewee, maybe not the other one so much, but the other one, but I'll see them again, and that is coming up, and that is being discussed, because I think that the good governance agenda has to be looked at seriously.
So I take it that the AG will be someone who's appointed in a senator role as opposed to someone from your current...
Right, it will be someone who will be appointed in a senator role. Right, you picked that up.
Regionally speaking, of course, you're a new Prime Minister. I take it you'll be engaging with your regional partners, the Central Bank as well as the OACS pretty soon. What are some of the things that you're hoping to impart when you do get that opportunity to the rest of the region as Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis?
Well, I really respect to the rest of the region. There are a number of things that I think we need to look at, but of course to meet the fellow Prime Ministers, as a region we need to look at the CBI program together. As a region we need to look at the cost of fuel together as well, to make sure that we do what we have to do, the cost of living across the region and what we can do really to deal with that. But I think the cost of fuel we can definitely look at together and to see what can be done. Because if you look across the region, the issues seem to be the same in some major areas. The CBI and the cost of living and the cost of fuel, I think those things need definitely to be looked at. Right. So I'm going to be engaging them on those issues.
Right. And of course, LIAT is one of the major interregional travel. Right.
A tremendous challenge, and that too would be discussed. Because I had somebody said to me, Dr. G, better I go to Miami and come down than to try to get from Windward Islands to here.
and I take it LIAT will be a central discussion to that, because over the past we've heard, questions about whether governments should invest and whether St. Kitts and Nevis should look to invest. So I take it that's something you'll be looking at.
Yeah, we'll be looking at that as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. Last but not least, constitutional reform and electoral reform. Right. Yes, I know on election day when you voted, the media would have spoken to you and asked you about changes and reforms, electronic voting, for example, and the whole aspect of the constituency boundaries. Those are things that are still, pending.
So with respect to the electoral reform, the boundaries, they have to be looked at. I mean, they're not even in keeping with having boundaries that are almost near equal as is required by law. So, and there have been multiple attempts to change them, and I think that we should abide by the law. And I think that's something that will be looked at to make sure that by next elections, the boundaries would have been aligned in keeping with the requirements. So that will be looked at. Not only that, there are a number of electoral reform issues. We have to see how we can introduce the technology in voting, so that it can be more efficient, quicker. The results can come quicker. I think we got the results fairly quickly compared to yes. And a number of things have been done, and a number of things can be done in terms of counting the votes where you voted. So instead of having all the boxes come to one spot, you can have the counting at the station, and then just report that can bring in your results very quickly as well. And so we need to look at a number of critical things like that. So we are going to look at those and see how they can be done. One of the things that we also look at was the ballot box, and to make sure that it's in keeping with the legislation. So we'll definitely pursue a number of those things. And then we'll get on to the Constitution as well. And that is why I'm having discussions with the AG so that we can start looking at the whole legislative agenda. But if you look within our manifesto, you'll see there are a number of critical things that we will do in our legislative agenda. How does it relate to the Nevis issue? To make sure once and for all we start dealing critically with solving issues between our islands, and that has to be done from a legislative standpoint. And looking in the legislation as well to take it a bit further to see, people's rights to education, people's rights to health care and so forth. Those things have to, when you look also at workers' rights, you need our workers fully protected. Do we need more legislation to make sure that workers' rights are protected? For example, during the COVID, when people were told if you don't take a vaccine, you'll be fired and so forth. I think now, those things people know my own position. But even from a scientific standpoint, presently, there's no basis for anything like that. Even the policy that is held by the Development Bank or the national group of companies with respect to vaccination and work and test. I remember writing a letter for one of my patients and say, okay, if you want the patient to test, can they test with a rapid antigen test? And they said no. And I said, scientifically, it is accepted. But they refused to pursue the PCR. And one of the questions I want answered is, was this a scientifically driven type of policy, or was this policy had other motives? So those type of violations of people's rights, those are the kind of things I want to know the truth about. No witch hunt, but the truth is important.
Lastly, and before we let you go, Dr. Drew, you have a very wide agenda, very big agenda. Yes. Can you achieve all of this in one term?
I think we can achieve a lot of it. Why? Because they're practical. Already I told you 4 or 5 things I'm going to do this week that were big things on the campaign trail. Most of the things, all of the things that I talked to on the campaign trail are things that I know are practical. I said to the country that I had an economic team looking at these things. And I was very serious about that. So when I said that we're going to deal with this or deal with that, those weren't things out of the air. For example, national health insurance. We already had a plan even before the government changed in 2015. So I know that when it comes to college and free tuition, we know we had a REACH program in 2015. When it came to the laptop program, we had a program like that. So if you look at the programs that I've mentioned, these are programs we had already or were ready to be implemented.
So based on your economic team's assessment, the current state, and I know you're still assessing the current state of the economy, but the current state of the country's finances can pay for all these things.
Can handle these things. Yeah. We can make the necessary investments and handle it. And one of the things that's going to help a lot is when we cut out the corruption is going to save the country a lot of money. For example, the peace program. The money goes to Development Bank. I am told that the CEO of the Development Bank who issued the payment. After that, nobody else knows what happens to the money. Right? And therefore, that will not be practiced here.
So there's a lot of fat that needs to be cut away.
Yes. Not just a lot of fat, but not just the fat. A lot of the disappearance of the money needs to stop. And I think that would help the situation even. Yes.
Dr. Drew, thank you very much, Prime Minister, for taking some time out to speak to us on these various issues. And of course, we hope to be having further follow-ups, not in not too distant future.
I want to thank you very much. This is my first interview.
And we appreciate the fact that you gave us the first interview.
So we'll talk
yes,
some more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
testing. Good morning. Hey, we're going on with Ayo. Everything good? Everybody good? Yes. Yes. So, yeah, this is our first show after the election. It's not going to be a very long show. Unless, of course, I go on my usual rants or somebody ticks me off and I got to put things into perspective. But, yeah, I just ran in here quickly just to touch base with the folks. And just to say, thank you for all your support. Thank you guys for all the prayers. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the patience. Thanks for voting for the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. That was my personal preference for this election. I don't think that any other time before I've ever said to anybody that, yes, vote for this particular party. But given what we experienced for the past 7 years under that Team Unity government, I really and truly went out on a limb. I went all in, I went all out, and I didn't just stay on the radio. You know what I mean? I went on the ground as well. And for the people who showed up, just thank you guys. Uncle Zeke, man. Yeah, I mean, I got to put a couple of things out there, because I'm the kind of person who think that the more information people have, the better decisions they can make. Information is power. Knowledge is power. And so sometimes it's not that you have to explain your situation to people, but just so that they know. Because in the absence of information, all kind of shit will take its place. My mom is recovering. She's doing a lot better, and the recovery process is going to be slow. It's going to be painstaking. It's going to be hard, but by the grace of God, and of course with your continued prayers, I think she will definitely get there. So yeah, I mean, during that time, I never saw it coming. I don't think anybody saw it coming. And that time for me was a very, 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 very difficult time. I think the most difficult period in my life was when I lost my grandmother. And this time, it equals that, or maybe just a little step ahead of that. It was very stressful because after being invested so much in this election and politics, and then to have this situation happen with my mom, I was basically torn into places at the same time. My mental state was basically turmoil practically every night. I mean, some of you saw me out there working, you saw me out there doing certain things, you might have seen me smiling or laughing, but on the inside I was torn. I was devastated. I was stressed out. I was this close to either breaking up or breaking down or chipping out, whatever you want to call it. But, given my life, I think it really prepared me for moments such as these. And being torn between what was going on with my family, what was going on with the politics, what was going on with me personally, it was a heavy, 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 heavy burden to carry at the point in time. And some people made it very, very, very difficult. I mean, the personal comments, the personal attacks, the political attacks, it made it very, very difficult. But, as again, as I said before, I was built for this kind of thing. And so I think by the grace of God and by the skin of my teeth, I held out, and came out on the other side. And so, again, thanks to all the people who would message, even though you ain't getting a response, because, I don't know, sometimes responding to some of those messages made me a little bit more emotional than I needed to be in that moment. And so, those of you who sent and you didn't get a response, I hope you're not offended. But I just tried my best to get through that period the best way that I knew how. Some people wanted me to open up more and, be something that, I'm not. I have always been a loner. I self-soothe, I self-heal, I just internalize things and just deal with them. And after being to therapy and what's not, I was good. I didn't need certain things, and some people were trying to draw me into certain things, and no, I like to deal with things the best way that I know how to deal with it. I internalize it, analyze it, set my mind, set my parameters, set my focus, and I just put on my head and go to work. Some people didn't understand that in that moment, and that's fine. I think that you're going to be okay, because I'm okay. So, again, thanks to everybody for your prayers. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the outpouring of love. I truly appreciate it, and of course, my family appreciate it. So now, to the politics. Congratulations to the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. Congratulations to the people who voted for the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. Congratulations to the hard-working team, the people on the ground, the planners, the organizers, the service providers, the people who came out every single night to every single event that was held. Congratulations to you. And I'm hoping that, some way, somehow, you get your reward. We saw for the past 7 years how not to run a government. And we may differ on certain things, but at the end of the day, I think that we get a government that we deserve. The state of our country leading up to 2015, if you look at it down the middle, and Sazam Hull made a good analysis the other day, where he was saying that the prosperity of Nevis was at an all-time high when NRP was there, and the people of Nevis voted them out. Same thing happened in 2015. The prosperity of St. Kitts and Nevis was so high, and yet the people voted out a St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, only to get a government that was filled with people who were greedy, deceptive, had no clue, and basically went in there to enrich themselves and their close friends, family, and allies. Now, this happens in most governments, because just like you would do in your regular life, if I decide to keep a party, you really think I'm going to go look for people to be a part of that function or that business that ain't been with me since I was grinding? So even in our own personal life, it happens. But at the end of the day, that's your personal thing. when you're running a country, is everybody. You could have see it, you could have feel it, you could have hear it, and they didn't care. But let's just hope that the supporters of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party ain't nothing like the supporters of Team Unity. Because a lot of them saw it, they felt it, and they kept defending it. Now, you guys know me. I frank, and I straight, and I plain. And I see some people saying, oh, government ain't gone in yet, and people are talking about holding feet to fire. Yes, you have to. Is when you don't hold the leaders' feet to the fire, is when they get comfortable, is when they get complacent, and when all kind of things begin to set in. So I said to the Labour supporters, don't allow anybody to hold the feet of your government to the fire before you. Team Unity, in my humble opinion, was on a honeymoon for 7 years, enjoying hell out of the victory as opposed to governing. Their very supporters used to tell you, it's a young government, give them a chance, give them a chance, give them a chance. You put up yourself for a job, you fill out the application form, I expect you to show up to work on the very first day. And start learning, start positioning yourself, start assessing your situation. Start putting things in place. You must know what you want to accomplish. So you get to work on the first day. This honeymoon bullshit is what got us in the mess that we're in right now. Because man and man only know how to win election and celebrate. Putting down your head and going to work is an entirely different matter. Some people have suggested, by EK, you work hard, so you deserve a reward. You know what my reward will be? What I want my reward personally to be? For the government to deliver on the things that matter. Me no want a position. I want to be in a position where I could say what the hell I want, when I want, how I want. I used to hear make me a little joke about paying me to hush and water. Well, nobody take me up on the offer. You as a supporter got to be the first in line to keep your representative and your government in check. Then nobody else do it for you. And to the rest of the people who supported the parties that lost, we know and we saw. Some of the bullshit was staring us in our face, stark as day. And somehow you couldn't see it, or you literally defended it. So in my humble opinion, now you have no moral authority, none whatsoever, to hold this government accountable. That task is going to be reserved for the supporters of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. And if they don't do it, I'll call their ass on it. Because we have had many examples of governments who are either dropping the ball, falling by the wayside, and the supporters went right along with the bullshit. And at the end of the day, the most vulnerable, the name of the country, was embarrassed. So this show this morning is to put the supporters of the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party on their P's and Q's. Don't let nobody got to come and say, oh, your government this and oh, your government that. You be the first to check your representative. You close to your representative. You close to your candidate. Keep them in check. Do what you need to do to help them as well. This is where volunteer work comes in. This is where the real volunteer work gonna pay off. because you volunteered during the campaign to do this and to do that and to do that. But now the government in power, keep the same energy. Make sure that you stay as active as you possibly can in the various communities to keep your representative informed about what is happening on the ground and what needs to be done. Don't just go away. Don't just shut down the constituency office. Don't stop the fellowshipping. Fellowship right through. Continue to do the little barbecues. Continue to make revenue for the party. So that when the next election come around, you're ahead. A continuous vibes. Keep your comrades close. Don't ever let them feel like, well, yeah, they only wanted me during the campaign time. What happened to now? That would happen in a lot of the churches. Whenever churches go out there and they have tents and, what do they call them thing? They would set up a tent and they go up to preach and so. I forget what they call it. But who they go to church would know about these things. They go out there and they get people to come and join the church. And then after that, people are left wondering, well, what happened to the fellowship? What happened to the camaraderie? What happened to the vibes I used to feel? So now that I'm in the church, what it done? All that just gone away. We need to do things differently. A lot of support fell off from Team Unity because what? The people went in there and they only make a look after a few. That's why Sean could have been up and down and talk about come back home to Pam. If you continue to keep little fundraisers for your constituency, the party could fund itself. So that way, when rich people come with the money, it's gravy. The party no owe them nothing. They just add to what was there already. No constituency is supposed to be struggling for finances. Because when rich people put in their money, they want to see a return. And when rich people put in their money, them are the ones who are going to have the ears of the candidates. Maybe some might not understand how politics work. That is why you see when something governments go in, you begin to see all kind of people start to roll out of the grass. And start to get big position and big contracts here and there. It's a return on their investment. And you wonder why. But how we do the rallying, how we do this. Yeah, but them spend the money. The t-shirts and the parties and the sound system and the truck are the rich people and money pay who that. And they got to get a return on their money. But if the constituents would continue to keep the little barbecue, the little this and the little fundraiser and the breakfast them and so, and keep monies within the party and the constituency branches, rich people wouldn't have no space to run in, pay for things, and then when the government win now, at them who call the shots because they got to get a return on their money. So when you see certain things happen, this is why it happens. So the young branches, continue to do your little thing. Continue to keep your comrades close. Continue to campaign all through the 5 years. Continue to garner support. Don't ever stop. And by doing so, you will talk to people to know what it is the true issues are on the ground, and you could relay that to your constituency head, and your constituency head could relay that to the various candidates and the ministries that they hold. This is supposed to be the effort and the focus right now of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, the constituents and supporters. Don't let it be a situation where your candidate is disconnected from the constituency. That is where you begin to lose support. They say everything costs money, but this is where volunteering comes in. Ain't everything got to be about money. Dr. Joe, you heard his first interview. You heard what his focus will be. So while he focusing on that, supporters should be focusing on the ground to keep the party grounded, to keep the support for the party grounded, to keep people involved, keep them connected. Don't ever let them disconnect. If they wake up in the morning, it got to be labor. Lunchtime, labor. Every weekend come, remind them, labor. Somebody just turned 18, go talk. Even before they turn 18, you don't start to reel them in. See, Auntie Tracy just say we need community ambassadors to go around checking in with citizens at least once a month. Once a month? We were doing it every weekend. That's where the constituency office is there for. That's where the parliamentarians get constituency allowances for. To make sure that these constituency branches are up and running. Not, oh, somebody lights bill high and you're going to take the constituency allowance to go pay the lights bill. I mean, come on. People got to start to come out of this dependency bullshit. Some parties thought that they could have buy people vote. And somebody shing out the money. And so guess what? The people who were depending on it ain't show up for them. Me hear all kind of shushu now that he got big argument in the camp. Because they say one man hold on the money. And he shing out the money like how we supposed to shing out the money. That is the danger of buying votes. Because when people not get paid, they not show up. That is why you need an ideology. You need a movement. A real movement. Not a movement that was born out of political necessity. Imagine prior to an election, Mark Brantley threw in his lot with Sean and Pam. Election done and gone now. Sean win back 1 seat. Pam had 4 seats. Pam got 1 seat now. And now all of a sudden, guess what? The Nevis people and the CCM people now up and down on Facebook at talk about. What, don't forget Nevis, you know. Don't forget fair share, you know. Therein lies the danger of throwing in your lot with somebody. So now who they gonna come and put pressure upon now? Dr. Joe is the Prime Minister. But CCM has always been openly hostile to Labour. Openly hostile. And nobody wants to take account for that. I see one of the biggest supporters, what she named Jennifer Silcott, talk about they like to go back to the poll. P-O-L-E. They like to go back to the poll. I mean, winning an election is practically the easiest thing to do. Anybody could win an election. Once you understand the ground, once you understand the politics, you can win an election. Governance, however, is an entirely different matter. So all these people from Nevis who now up and down on their high horse, but make sure look after Nevis. When Nevis going to start to look after his damn self. And sometimes I hate to be speaking like this because you know how much I love Nevis. But when you gonna mix your politics and come chatting shit, somebody got to check you. Saint-Kitts does not have its own island administration. Nevis does. So Nevis getting 2 bites at the cherry. 2 bites. Prior to the election, they had most and many things to say about Labour. They threw in their lot with Pam. No Pam, no win. CCM still a stand. And now they're up and talk about Drew must do the best for Nevis. Calm down on yourself. Calm down on yourself. Mark Brantley love to tell people keep out of Nevis politics because they don't understand Nevis politics. And by right, nobody understand the politics they who true. But when you can openly campaign with one political party on the island of St. Kitts, throw in your lot with them, mix your politics with them, and when they fall by the west side, you now turn out and want to put pressure. And want to be making all kind of demands on the government that actually win. Well, how about you just sit down your ass? Just because you want people keep out a Nevis politics, keep out a St. Kitts politics too. Wait and see who gonna win, and then you begin to work. Because you're now looking like a puppy show. And somebody needs to tell all you this. Somebody needs to tell all you this. I saw some Labour people asking NRP openly, who they vote for, who they with. Even Mark Brantley went as far as to say, and even after the election, he still a say, that PLP and Timothy gave NRP money. And the NRP leader rightfully said, look, we have 3 seats on Nevis. We're supposed to be a part of a federal government to govern the entire federation. We have to see who the people of St. Kitts and Nevis elect before we get mixed up in this squabble. That to me is the decent thing to do. That to me is the best thing to do. I am not mixing up in all your politics. I'm not picking any sides because at the end of the day, I'm going to have to work with whomever. And so I'm not going to be hostile to anybody, and I'm not going to be favorable with anybody. Whomever the people of St. Kitts decide that they want to work with to govern the entire federation, that is who we want to sit down and work with. But not Mark Brantley. He got to be rambunctious and out of order and pick a side and rah, 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 rah. And then when he ain't turned out to be so now, he want to pull the trump card again. Oh, Nevis deserve this and Nevis deserve that. And I hope how you going to look. Bullshit. St. Kitts in the constitutional construct does not have its own island administration. So therefore, whatever government is in power for the both federation. We come like some people not understand the constitution and they went last school. You have an island administration responsible for certain things on Nevis. That is your responsibility. The federal government has a responsibility for both islands in certain aspects. Well, how people not understand that? Let me break it down for you. You have a household. The mother and the father are the head of the household. You could say the father is the prime minister. You, as a son, you have a room in the house. You're responsible for the cleaning of your room. You're responsible for the upkeep of your room. The father is responsible for the entire household. You go out, make your money. You ain't paying no rent. You ain't paying no utilities. But you want to say to the father that you deserve a cut of all the money that he brings in because you name son and you live under the roof? Now, how does that sound to all you? How does that sound to all you? That your son living under your roof has a room in your house, responsible for his room, but want to tell you that you're responsible for making sure that he good too. I don't realize that the people of Nevis, and I'm going to say this with no water in mouth, and who want to vex me could go right ahead and vex me because I don't vex me for all kind of foolish reasons. I believe I a brainwash. Mark Brantley done talks and put so much of shit in Nevis people head that I believe I, and I'm convinced that I a brainwash. Because for the life of me can't understand the logic. Don't ask nothing about Nevis. Don't worry about what we do with the money in Nevis. But when it comes to the CBI money, all of a sudden, the passport got on St. Kitts and Nevis. So the passport got on St. Kitts and Nevis, so we must have a say in everything that go on in the Federation. But nobody on the island of St. Kitts could ask nothing about the island of Nevis because we're responsible for our own affairs. Well, how the hell does that make sense? How does that even work? So you want to have say over here because your name on a passport, but me can't ask what's going on over there. If it's one federation, it's one federation. You threw in your lot with Sean. And the people of St. Kitts and Nevis rejected Sean and Pam. Look at the numbers. Whether they show up or they ain't show up, everybody have a responsibility to show up and vote. So if the Pam people them stay home because they were disappointed or because they was embarrassed, well, that's a their problem. That no have nothing to do with the argument. Because a lot of Labour people stay home in 2015 and now you accepted the win. So accept the lose too. Every national or non-national, once properly under the law is registered to vote, have a responsibility to show up to vote, to cast your vote which way or the other. This foolishness about, oh, if my party not do good, then me not vote at all. How about voting for somebody else who really and truly got a plan? That's why I didn't want to hear from the Labour people who didn't show up in 2015. Oh, me not like how Asim Martin in a go on, so me just decide me stay home, me not go vote. And then we end up with patches. That's the danger. Yes, you send home Asim Martin, but you give us patches. Oh, me not like what they say about Dougie, so me gonna stay home. And then now we end up with Timothy. So when you openly hostile, and want to decide for the people of St. Kitts who should be the Prime Minister, and then that Prime Minister lose, you want to now come out here, come talk about you hope that Dr. Drew deals with Nevis nice? Everything about the CCM party there is confusion. And you could tell them me say so. Confusion, 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 confusion. Yes, they win. God bless them. But everything about them is confusion and rah-rah and a lot of noise and controversy. They want to continuously keep the people in Nevis in battle mode against St. Kitts. Well, then if you feel so strongly that St. Kitts doing all you something, man, use the constitution in there. Put in the clause. Because if you feel you get so much on that boat, put in the clause. How do you referendum? Maybe a lot of people in St. Kitts fear to say it because they don't really want to start no antagonism. But if they're constantly antagonistic towards St. Kitts, if you feel that you get so much a knock boat from St. Kitts, then pull the clause. Every time, watch. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I gotta be frank with all you. That secession clause that used to hurt me spirit. And it used to hurt me spirit bad. Because all you tired hear me preach about the love I got for Nevis. I would rather be living on Nevis than on St. Kitts, to be frank and honest with you. Me and Nevis share the same personality. Just mellow, cool, easygoing. But every time this guy opens his mouth, is some kind of antagonistic vibes towards St. Kitts. Every time. The Constitution clearly outlines what the role of the NIA is to Nevis, what your responsibilities are. Well, God damn it, if you cannot move the island of Nevis based on what the Constitution says you're supposed to do, then get your ass out the way. But you can't do it. And the only thing you could seem to come up with is somebody and saying it's fault. When you're openly hostile to one particular party and saying Kitts. But nobody must be openly hostile to CCM. Nobody must be openly hostile to Nevisians. But you want to be openly hostile to a particular party and St. Kitts. Well, it's 14,000 people support and love that particular party and St. Kitts. So how is it you could get to determine who you want to be down here? And when things ain't work out your way, you now want to play the victim. And want to put Dr. Drew in a position. How? How on God's green earth does that make sense? Oh, make sure you deal with Nevis nice, you know. Well, how do you assign I say I make sure Mark deal with Nevis nice? I keep asking. What is new the man they bring to Nevis? NRP start the bank. NRP start the offshore business. The offshore banking. NRP 4 Seasons. And now you vote out NRP. Man, God, show me one thing. One new thing that this guy and his party bring to Nevis to jumpstart Nevis economy. Show me one. Only to show you, you know, when Timothy Harris was Prime Minister, the federal government has responsibility for national security on both islands. Police, fire. Timothy want to see what's going on over by a police station in Nevis. That's a his responsibility constitutionally, you know. And Mark, it works because Timothy ain't let he know that he come over, come do he work. Well, you can't have it both ways, partner. You cannot have it both ways. Is either you want the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis to do his goddamn work, or you don't want him to do his work. His logic is, just give us the money and we run we own affairs. So what happened when the money done? And me got a right to ask you because my passport says St. Kitts and Nevis, not just St. Kitts alone. It says St. Kitts and Nevis. So me got a right to ask you what you're going to do with that money. But you know what? Nobody asks you nothing. Are you ease up? Ease up. Back up. Are you back up? Or you went into an arrangement with Timothy Harris and he bossing all your ass. And not so much so, you know. Because according to him, every time you have come and asked for an increase in budgetary support, he granted. He granted. But yet still you come out and say, saying it's a kickback, Nevis fair share. Why would you need budgetary support? Who is responsible for the budget in St. Kitts, in Nevis? In the island administration? Who is responsible for growing the economy in Nevis? In the island administration? Who is responsible for salaries on Nevis? In the island administration? The Constitution sets out that all the revenue from both treasuries should be pooled together and disseminated. History shows us that when Nevis' economy was doing better than St. Kitts' economy, Vance Amy of blessed memory stopped the revenue sharing agreement because more was going over to St. Kitts, and that could happen. Hell no. Who are you criticians to get more money out of us? No. Go deal with all your own thing. That was his attitude. Ask who was in government then. It was a CCM government and it was a Labour government. You understand? Openly hostile to Labour all the time. Nobody want to talk about these things because what? Oh, you want to get Nevis as second-class citizens. When and how and where? So an NRP government introduced ways and means for Nevis' economy to bubble. And then Nevis people vote them to us out, put in CCM. CCM became openly hostile to Labour, was doing better based on the work that NRP was doing, and then decided that Nevis money should stay in Nevis. We want to be a part in the revenue sharing agreement again because we're doing better now, so which means we're going to have to send over more money to you. And that could never happen. And since then, he do? No. So now that they're not doing so well, and saying it's thanks to Dr. Douglas, who decided to revamp the CBI program. The CBI was always there, you know. Billy Hobart started before Douglas. Anybody know anything about CBI? Before Douglas revamped that program so that a lot more people could eat out of it. Anybody didn't hear about economic citizenship? That it wasn't even a topic. Because only a few were involved in it. Let's talk things for how it actually happened. Yes, Billy Herbert started. But it was only benefiting a few. Douglas revamped it and opened up the market so that more people get involved, so that it can expand. And then he started to do better now. And certain people I get long and wanted access to it. And that is where they start to preach the bullshit that they were preaching. And people fell for it. So he do something to make St. Kitts and Nevis more viable and more economically and financially sound. And then people went after that, got it, and vote out Labour. St. Kitts and Nevis people special. Are we special? Because are we like rah and hearsay? Are we like truth? I want to show you. Timothy them came in and said they're going to revamp the CBI program and make it better. We came in and we did it. We make it better. I don't know why we can't give back our visa access to Canada since they're in power. This is the kind of bullshit that they were preaching. On the platform during the campaign, Timothy get up and say that he's going, when the PLP government wins and we get back into office, we are going to revamp and reform the CBI. He forget that he was in power. The man forget that he was in power. The man forget he was the prime minister at the time when he's saying, vote us back in to revamp the CBI program and make it better. Damn stupidness. But then what you do when you come to power? Bye. Bye. If all you don't pay attention, these politicians gonna forever fool all you. Imagine he say that the most Nevis has ever gotten was on the Team Unity. But yet still, he bring down the Team Unity government because it was not enough. But how them two things they got together? You bring down an entire government because you were getting the most ever, but it was still not enough. $500 million over 7 years. Increased by 50 and 100% every time you requested. And now you got the gall, you and your supporters got the gall to throw in all your lot with Sean and Pam. And now that Pam lose, listen to his speech. Listen to his victory speech. CCM still standing. And all who fall by the wayside, look at us now. That's a slap in Sean's face. Because they thought they could have ride the wave. They really thought that Pam was going to get back 3-4 seats, you know? By keep out a St. Kitts politics, you don't understand St. Kitts politics. Let me be a little pompous and arrogant. You don't understand St. Kitts politics. Keep out the St. Kitts politics. Keep out. Just like how you want now, we keep out the Nevis politics, keep out the St. Kitts politics. Humble yourself. A 6 seats Labour must talk to you. But you see, Dr. Drew different to a lot of we. Dr. Drew is actually a decent man. Because if I want to ignore shit out of you, you know. Personally, you know. But you see, Dr. Drew is a different man. So already Dr. Drew done having conversations with you. Even though you were damn disrespectful damn distasteful and damn well out of order, but you want to choose we prime minister again. You choose one force already and it turned out to be shit. You want to choose another one? But Dr. Drew is actually a decent man. Because me for one, I'm going to ignore shit out of you, you know. You would have got to prove that you is the actual sheriff. Stay your ass in a position and go do some damn work with Nevis. Some real work. To bring back Nevis to his glory days. Because you don't know your damn place. And somebody need to tell you. Shit me up, man. You went as far as to say, and align NRP with PLP. Because you got the biggest mouth and the loudest mouth. Imagine the person whose tagline is ignore the noise. Got the biggest and the loudest mouth. How? And Nevis people fall for that bullshit. Every time they talk, they wash their mouth on labor. And now, the people who they align themselves with, the people who they handpick and choose, these people are saying is reject them to us. And now you come and talk about, I hope that Dr. J deals with Nevis nice, you know. Look, none of them gonna sit down in the Labour government. I think what Dr. Drew will do is have conversations with them and see how best something can be worked out constitutionally and make it ironclad so that no premier ever again in the history could just ups and decide he don't want to be a part of the revenue sharing agreement anymore. Reform the constitution, because watch ya, the NIA could take the federal government to court, you know. I read the constitution and see. But me not so sure that the federal government could take the NIA to court. Well, Dr. Drew and the Labour Party need to sit down and have serious constitutional reform to make it ironclad. Because this is what mash up the whole thing. There's a revenue sharing agreement. You pool all the resources and you censor based on the population. Simple pimple. But what the Constitution did not envision is worthless people becoming leaders. And who want to wax could wax. But we got to speak truth to power. The Constitution is simple, plain as day. But what the Constitution did not plan for is worthless people becoming leaders. Because the revenue sharing is there. Make it so that if ever comes a time again when Nevis surpasses St. Kitts in terms of economics, that whomever is the sitting premier cannot just wake up one morning and decide, hello, I am doing better than you, I don't want to be a part of the revenue sharing agreement anymore. Because that would mean I will have to be able to support you. So St. Kitts could support Nevis, but Nevis can't support St. Kitts. Oh. Because Nevis money too good for St. Kitts. But St. Kitts and Nevis money ain't too good for Nevis. And I dare any vision who think that they know more sense than anybody else could come. It is fear when the money going so. But when the money got to flow so, in a fear. The Constitution needs to be reformed so that it can include the arrival of assholes in government, to make it difficult for the assholes to show themselves in government. And maybe Dr. Drew should find out and confirm if actually the federal government was sending budgetary support to Nevis. And tell us how much. Because only after a little bit of pressure, Mark want to now come and say, well, this is what the money was spent on, this is what the money was. You're supposed to tell us what the money was spent on. My passport got on St. Kitts and Nevis, not just St. Kitts. So I have a right to know how you spend money in Nevis. Not because I live over there. My passport says St. Kitts and Nevis. So make up all your mind. Is either or you want to be in a cordial relationship that is based on trust, understanding, and the Constitution, or you want to forever be hostile towards St. Kitts. Because me no believe nobody hostile towards Nevis. But hostility got to go both ways. You can't just decide that you're going to be hostile. I am smaller, and so therefore I deserve more. Let's take it into consideration. What happens if by some stroke of luck you come up with something that will make Nevis an economic giant, and you will then have to give more based on the agreement that you ain't going to just ups and say you don't want to be a part of the revenue sharing no more because the revenue sharing now benefits St. Kitts. So we have the CBI fund. Let's talk about the CBI fund. Would you, Mark Bradley, be opened, present, past, and future tense, if I say you go through, to a Dr. Drew-led administration coming to Nevis from a federal standpoint and start doing things on Nevis outside of the Constitution? Since you believe you're so damn bright and brighter than everybody, answer me this simple question. Would you, Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis, be open to a Dr. Drew-led administration, federal administration, coming to Nevis as the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis and start doing projects from a federal standpoint on the island of Nevis without your consent and input, so that the CBI monies could be spread across the federation? Answer me, man. And not run it through your administration? Let's break it down. What is the federal government responsible for on both islands? Let's start there. Let's start there. Would you be a part of the constitutional reform that gives the federal government more say, more autonomy, more free reign to do more things on Nevis without your involvement? Would you be willing to give up some of the responsibilities that the NIA has constitutionally and hand them over to the federal government to run? Talk to me, somebody. Because some people come like they only know how to win election, they don't know how to run the government. Let's go. Shut down the NIA and have 8 seats on St. Kitts, 5 seats on Nevis. Shut it down. And that way, Nevis coming in with 5 seats. We could have our first prime minister from Nevis. Let's go. Let's go. So that way, if we have a prime minister from Nevis, then he or she could start focusing more on Nevis and less on St. Kitts. I don't know. What do you think? Your former leader of CCM stopped a constitutional provision because the money was too good for Kittitians. The man break the in law. And he stop it. Nobody stop it. And he break the goddamn law. For whatever personal reasons, he break the goddamn law. And everybody feared to question him. Everybody feared to question him. Nobody could have questioned him when he was alive. What's now he dead? Since I want to be hostile towards St. Kitts, let's go. Would you be willing to be a part of a constitutional reform to come up with framework to give you less work, less responsibility on Nevis and more to the federal government? So that Nevis actually gets its fair share? The hell are you talking about? Want to have your cake and eat it too and be openly hostile? Would you like for the federal government to have control over more social services on Nevis and less to you? So that the monies could be spent evenly? When Dr. Douglas wanted to have a federal office in Nevis under UCCM headed by Vance Emery was hostile towards even that. Keep out of Nevis. Just send it over. We're going to deal with it. How that work? The constitution is set up, sir. Mark played on the emotions of Nevisians. Simple. Because some of you don't want to come down off your emotions and actually see things for what they really are. The Constitution guides how every administration should operate. And if it ain't in there, my God, are you in government? I don't make the laws. Fix it. You can't fix it politically. That's why it did not work. This thing, this Charlestown Accord, ain't what the paper that it was written on. You hear? And Timothy Harris knew that. Only I and I know. It ain't worth the paper it was written on. Because I don't want to do the hard work. I don't want to have the hard conversations. I just want everything easy breezy. Well, since Saint Kitts a cheat Nevis so bad and a nap boat Nevis so bad, secede. Go ahead. Go ahead. And see how things work out for you. Since you want to be openly hostile and determined for us who must be with Prime Minister down here, well, we mustn't decide who must be the premier in Nevis because we followed an out of order. Keep out of Nevis politics. Secede. Go ahead. But if you want to have cordial, reasonable, practical, and decent arrangement, sit down, shut your goddamn mouth, and let's actually do some work. To put the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis further than it is. Who's supposed to sit down with you now? But you're not smart as you think. How the saying go? Two smart gun dead or one smart door? I say go? You outsmart your goddamn self. Labor. You actually think that the people are saying it's stupid? I've been telling you so, you know. You can't choose the Prime Minister or we. You get away with it once. Once, you know. And you let your arrogance go to your head. Look here. Clean sweep. You'll have to rah, 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 rah every damn minute. It's annoying. It's annoying. Shit. See, somebody just say NRP is located on Nevis and look how they are treated by their CCM regime. You want me to tell you about that? He want NRP who join with he when he openly disrespectful and hostile towards NRP. NRP must just join with he to go after Timothy. Will this NRP tell you go hug up and love up and swaps up with Timothy Harris? NRP never send you. And as you claim Timothy broke in your ass, you now want CCM to come and join your fight. Why? And NRP just stop down and take all the bye. Watch you, right? NRP, I need to get more militant. This calm and cool and it ain't working. It's not working. The results are what the results are. It's not working. This man out here make the most noise, talk the most shit. All you got to make an equally louder noise. Dispelling the bullshit. Watch you. I could be cool and calm and collective, you know. But when people who chat shit start to scream, I'm going to scream back the truth. I ain't gonna argue with them. Because when two people are arguing, one is a puppy show, you can't tell the difference between the two. But use platforms to scream the truth. Every platform. Watch you. Mark Brantley, right? Every chance the man they get, when he was in opposition, he was on Freedom FM. Every chance. Whether what he was saying makes sense, yes or not, he was on there every chance he got. He used to call in. He used to call in every chance he got. And then when he became exalted, he stopped. Because he no longer needed to scream his bullshit. The people bought it hook, line, and sinker. And when we had occasion to speak to him, guess what? He wanted to determine what we would ask him and what he would talk about. You hear? Yeah. So people, I'm going to end this show now. Because I'm coming back tomorrow. And I'm coming back the day after that. This show is not going to end. Because we got things to talk about. We got to put things into perspective now. He lose. He might have won his seat, but he lost the elections. He lost the government. And now he wants to flip the script and talk about Dr. Drew must do the best for Nevis. Go tell Sean. You over in a position with Sean, let you and Sean do the best for Nevis now. That shit ain't gonna fly. Folks, hold tight. I have to answer this phone call here. All right. That was my tailor. Because I'm going to make a suit, you know. I'm going in the park Saturday for swearing in. So I'm going to curtail this show right now to go get my measurements in because I want my nice suit. I work hard, no ass, for this election here. So I going in the park or watch the swearing in. I never go to a swearing in ceremony yet in my life. I go in Saturday. Hear me tell you. I am not going to stop this show because we got to continue to educate the people of St. Kitts and Nevis against these worthless, arrogant politicians who feel that people stupid and who feel they could continue to pull wool over people's eyes. Ain't gonna happen. And I put in the administration a notice as well. Me ain't gonna hush, you know. Me ain't gonna hush. Because I work too hard. I put too much on the line to get people to vote for the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, to choose the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, for all you to now go in there and embarrass me. So everything what I see, I either going to call you personally, and if nothing is being done, I come in public. I will not be pacified. So all who calling me and say, boy, you should get this position, I don't want it. Because if getting that position means that I'm supposed to be pacified, that I'm supposed to be null and void and have no voice, I do not want it. You hear? Let me continue to scrunt off of my own and grind off of my own to get what I want out of life. I've been doing it and I'm going to continue to do it. So all who think that I'm supposed to get a position, God bless all you, thank you, I appreciate it, but no. If it means that I can talk when I want to talk, I do not want it. You hear? I don't, as I tell you already, I don't care who run this government, you know, as long as they run it properly. That is all I want. Make equal opportunities and equal ground for people to elevate. The bullshit that was going on in Team Unity. Hand-picking people and denying people just because they speak, just because they had an opinion. No. And I got something else to talk, you know, and he might put me out of something else, but I don't give a shit. Because if me getting things mean that I can't talk, me want it, I'm going to do without it. I've been doing without it, I'm going to do without it. And it got to do with the police force. But that is for tomorrow. So guys, have yourself a blessed day. I'm on Issues at 1:30 today, so make sure you tune in. And I'm also on Island Rhythms. I'm going to make me suit. You have a blessed day. Goodbye.